Hello, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. So I'm going to talk about uh, what I think is Australia's best possible test team and playing selector, just having a bit of fun with that. So I know like, everybody has their own opinions about this sort of thing. So I'm going to just give you mine. Now, first off, I'm going to start with the people that I think everybody agrees. So we'll start with the bowlers, assuming they're all fit. Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, Nathan Lyon, they're locked. There's no real dispute about that. I think that it's encouraging that James Pattinson is coming back from a really long injury bout of over a year. And I think that he is realistically ahead of probably all three of those fast bowlers. He was the best bowler in 2011 and 12 for Australia, and I don't think that any of the new ones are better than him. So I think when he is fully fit, we'll be seeing a battle for which of those three that we currently have need to go. So I think currently on current form, Mitchell Stark is the worst of those three. So he'd be the one making way. Now, Pattinson's not considered to be in enough fitness right now to make the Australian team. He might be by the end of the season. So seriously, I'm being very serious here. I think Pattinson was probably in the top three or four best bowlers in the world as at when his injury came. And I think, assuming that his injury hasn't damaged that, I think he still would be Australia's best bowler. So that's exciting. It's exciting that he'll be coming back, hopefully. Another exciting prospect in the bowling front is Jackson Bird, and he's just been ridiculous since he was dubbed about a year ago. He's been consistently ridiculously good, and it's insulting that he's not in the Test squad right now. Pattinson, yep, he's been injured. Jackson Bird is not. He's in every format. He's been amazing. And I think that the selectors shouldn't be ignoring him. I know Tremaine, look, he's done his bit, but Jackson Bird's got proven test form. It's not a risk. He's safe. And I'd like to see Bird get at least one test in the Indian season against India, perhaps in Perth. Again, I don't think Jackson Bird is as good as Pattinson, but Jackson Bird is very close to as good as, say, Pat Cummins. And I think, the big problem with our fast bowlers, people are saying that we don't have backup. It's more the case that we're not picking our backup. We're putting players in the wrong order. Realistically, if you've got your order, you've got perhaps at the moment, once he's fit, I'd put Pattinson at number one, Hazlewood at number two. You've probably got Cummins at number three, Mitchell Stark at number four, and you've got Jackson Bird at number five. And I think going outside of those five, we could perhaps put Jason Behrendorff and Chad Sayers at 6 and 7. And those two are so close that it's really hard to put one above the others. Others beyond that shouldn't be considered. And I think right now, they're not realistically, they're not good enough. And I know, look, we get somebody, oh, look, he got 7 wickets in this match, let's put him up there. No. I mean, you're saying that I don't mind if they wanted to have a hunch on Lloyd Pope, who's a spin bowler, I wouldn't mind that. I'd prefer to put him in for either a T20 or an ODI before throwing him in the deep end for a test. I think that it's easier to play a T20 or an ODI, even if you're meant to be a test player. And so I'd like to see Pope given a shot this year in the next 12 months for either a T20 or an ODI. I don't know if he's going to be international standard, but I do know that he's had two. He had one for an under-19 and he had one in the Sheffield Shield where he got an 8 wicket and he got a 7 wicket. And I think you've got to say, look, that's worth having a shot at. He's 18. If he was 30 and he did that, it's a different issue, but look, he's 18. He's done that twice in a very short period of time. Let's have a go at him. Let's have a crack. He's sort of the bowling equivalent of Jason Sangha. And I've said Jason Sangha, he doesn't have a good average, but he's had 2 centuries in, I think it's 6 matches. And let's have a crack at him. I don't want Sangha in the test team, but I want to see Sanger given an ODI, given a T20. So that's the bowlers taken care of. I started with the easy ones, the bowlers. Now with the wicketkeeper, Tim Payne, I was really against his move last year. He's proven me wrong, and I get things wrong every so often. He was a complete bolter. He did really well in his first season, and he has dropped since then. I think in UAE he wasn't as good, but look, he was good against England. He was good in South Africa, and he was okay in UAE. Um, I don't think it's obvious for him to be picked, but while he's captain, he's going to be picked. I think Alex Carey is really coming along, and I think if we could find a consistent captain that we trust, don't think Payne would be in the team right now. But in saying that, it's not terrible to have him there. He's not bad. I mean, Aaron Finch is the most obvious choice as a Test captain, and he's played 2 Tests. He did well, and I think if he does well in the entire Indian series, we might find that Aaron Finch is the Test captain. And when that happens, I think we'll be thankful to Tim Payne for taking on Test captaincy in the worst position, worst circumstances, and then we'll be saying, "Well, thank you, Tim Payne. Enjoy your retirement," and he'll be off back to the Sheffield Shield. Because I think Alex Carey is a better wicketkeeper, and I think he's proven that at the ODI and T20 levels. He's also got the temperament for internationals, and it was really good that we got to have Carey given a shot at what's effectively that lower level, the T20 and ODI level, and he's proven himself at that level. So Alex Carey should be the Test wicketkeeper. He's not, and it's not bad that he's not. It's not terrible. We're just losing a little bit, and I think it's not terrible. Look, Tim Payne was not a good wicketkeeper when he first played for Australia. Let's make no bones about that. He should not have played when he did. But lately, he had a good run. And he was good against England. It was all right against South Africa. But yeah, it's kind of his bubble burst now, I think, and it's time to let him go. He's been let go from ODIs and T20s. So, but look, we'll see him in the Test series. Probably we shouldn't be, but we will. I think we'll see him out. And look, his batting form's good, so we're not losing that much. It's not terrible. Now, for the batsmen, look, I would love to see Smith and Warner in there. I'd love to see that band dropped. I'd love to see them in there. It's not going to happen. But if I was a selector, I'd be saying, well, let me have them back. And anyway, well, they're not going to have them. So when I'm playing selector here, I'm not going to be considering them because it's a reality. I'm assuming somebody else has made the ban. I've got no say in it. Bad luck. Okay. So that's gone. Now, let's start with I'm going to start with Aaron Finch. I like seeing him in there. He showed temperament in UAE beyond just the runs scored. I mean, averaging 45 in a low-scoring contest is phenomenal. Your first 2 Tests. Definitely, I think he's a lock at the top of the order, and I love seeing him in there. I would have loved to have seen Matthew Renshaw opening the batting with him. I think Renshaw's shown fantastic temperament at first class and at Test level. And at such a young age, I think those two would have worked really well together. I'm very, very disappointed not to see Renshaw. I've already had a different video. I said why I don't want Marcus Harris in there. So obviously, Renshaw's my first pick to open the batting with Finch. I've been impressed with Renshaw for 3 years, and I haven't seen anything to suggest that he's not Test standard. He hasn't failed in Tests. He has failed a few. He has a few failures at Sheffield Shield level, and I think when you compare failures by certain other players such as Shaun Marsh and Mitchell Marsh, and you compare the failures of Matthew Renshaw, there's no comparison. Matthew Renshaw has got some bad scores with good bowling. He has had. I mean, look, you're going to face good bowling sometimes, and you're going to get out cheaply. He's played in matches which had pitches and conditions that were almost impossible to score on, and he's got low scores sometimes in those conditions. He's never thrown his wicket away. He's never just gone out there, got a duck when everybody else was getting 80. He's never done that. Shaun Marsh has, Mitchell Marsh has. So I think before we consider dropping Matt Renshaw, should be dropping the Marsh brothers. and that's the obvious thing. I think that, well, what the heck? What are we doing with the Marsh brothers? Um, so I'd start off Finch, Renshaw at the top. Now Usman Khawaja, another one. I didn't approve of him when he first came in. I thought he was not in good enough form. He has since been in good form, and I think for the last 3 or 4 years he's been phenomenal. I objected to him actually being dropped when he had a couple of failures in Sri Lanka. I thought that was over the top knee jerk reaction. He proved in UAE that he's just a fantastic player, and I think there's a lot of years left in him. Assuming he's fit, Usman Khawaja, lock him in, number 3, and that's fantastic. The only question is whether we want to play him as an opener or where he did well in UAE, or whether we want to have him as a number 3. And that's a difficult question. He's obviously had success as an opener, and he likes opening. He's also been good at number 3. Now, so those 3 were our first 3. So Renshaw, Finch, and Khawaja. Now we get to the difficult part, because there's 3 spots that we don't. It's hard to know who put in there. So I like Peter Handscomb. I think he's done enough. He had a good start to his Test career. He dropped off a lot, and then I think that he's done enough. So it's a touchy one, but I think he's done enough. So I'd like to see Peter Handscomb somewhere between 4 and 6. Next one, I think that realistically, I think we've got Jake Lehman, and I've said his name a few times. Jake Lehman, I think, has done enough consistently over a long period of time. What I've really liked about Lehman is that he showed a lot of temperament, good temperament. So when he's gone out there with his team in trouble, and he's got his big moustache, and he's gone out there in any format, and I'm talking T20, ODI, Sheffield Shield, ODD, I should say, the Sheffield Shield, the domestic season, he's just looked safe, stable, reliable, someone you can depend on. And I think he would be potentially a good number 3 in tests for Australia in the future. I think right now you don't want him to put a youngster like him in number 3. You put him at number 6. I think, I would have picked him in the test team right now. Unfortunately, we have this obsession with the Marsh brothers that I think is unhealthy. They failed in UAE, and they should be missing out on the Indian series. I wouldn't consider them. I don't care if they've got centuries in Sheffield Shield. Sorry, they've failed in UAE, so get stuffed. You two have not done enough. But when you fail 2 tests in a row, when you've been given all this support, you shouldn't just continue on because, you've got a century. After being dropped 3 times, you get a century in a Sheffield Shield match. I don't think that shows good form at all. That shows, I don't know, you got lucky. It's not form. Even if they are showing form in Sheffield Shield level against Sheffield Shield bowlers, you're not showing form against Test bowlers. Against Test bowlers, you're failing. So, and I think that's, what's Mitchell Marsh's batting average overall in Test cricket? It's 26, I believe, and he's got a bowling average of 44. So, I mean, I saw Mitchell Marsh in one of his first matches domestically. It was a T20 before the BBL, when it was just called what it was called, the T20 League, when he played for Western Australia instead of Perth. And he was a good bowler. The first over I saw of him playing for Western Australia, it's against South Australia possibly, and I think he took 3 wickets in 2 overs, and he was a good bowler. Now he couldn't bat in those days, and arguably still can't bat, and that's been the problem. And I think that he's sort of confused his role. I think he should have been aiming at being a full-time bowler and not worried about this all-rounder idea. He should never have batted in the top 6 for Australia. I think he should have batted at 8 and 9. And I think if we'd worked at him as a bowler, he had a chance of doing something good. I mean, we've got people like Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins who can bat a bit that are bowlers. And I think that should have been the role that Mitchell Marsh had, was someone who could bat a little bit but was a bowler. And unfortunately, by aiming and trying to push him to be a better batsman than he ever has been and ever could be, that we've ruined him. And I also think his temperament is appalling. He's gotten drunk, and when they had the Champions Trophy, the one where you're playing for Perth as opposed to playing for Australia, and he's arrogant, jerk. He shouldn't be in any leadership position for Australia. I mean, I think like a comparison is Steve O'Keefe. I mean, he was banned for a year because he swore at he said something sexist to a female cricketer, and that was a fair decision. And I think you got to put Mitchell Marsh in the same bucket. I think, and I don't think Sean Marsh is much better really. He's had some bad temperament issues as well. I think those two have had some favouritism, perhaps because of their father. Jeff Marsh was a good try for Australia. He was a good batsman. I mean, he wasn't wonderful. He only averaged 35 for in Test matches, but at the time that was okay for us because we were pretty bad in those days. And we're back to being pretty bad. I think there's some comparisons between the Australian team right now and in the 1980s when Jeff Marsh was playing. But we shouldn't be having those two in the Test team right now. And so I'm going to just cross them out. So I've said a lot about that. I think those should be crossed out. Now, as for who's the next one, it is a tough one. So we've got Jake Lehman as I'm saying my number 4. Hang on, I've got Finch, Renshaw, Khawaja, Hanscom, Jake Lehman. All right, there's 5. Now, who's number 6? Well, this is a tough one. My gut feeling is Glenn Maxwell. I know that he has not. He's hardly played a first-class match in the last year because of Cricket Australia stuffing him around. I think he's shown temperament at Test level. He showed ability. He's had results, and he's done better bowling than Mitchell Marsh has, and he's been a better batsman. And I think when you look at a Glenn Maxwell and you see someone who can take the game away from that opposite team, you don't see that in either of the Marsh brothers. You see people who sometimes get lucky and sometimes do well, and sometimes most of the time make us pull our hair out. I don't see that in Glenn Maxwell. I see in Glenn Maxwell, it reminds me a lot of the Mark Waugh. I see someone that when he's on fire is amazing in all formats, and sometimes he tries his luck and it doesn't work. I see he's a fantastic fielder. He's worth extra runs just for how he can take amazing catches and throw balls in and make saves. You've got to add bits to him that are not in the statistics. I mean, you can't say that about either of the Marsh brothers. They're not. I mean, they're okay as fielders, but they're not Maxwell level. I'd rather have Maxwell there. Now, is there another alternative to Maxwell as that 6th spot? Look, people have talked about Matthew Wade. I don't think he's done quite enough, but I think he's close. I mean, Wade he's been batting very well since there was the question on his position last year. Last year, I think Matthew Renshaw topped the run scoring list. I think Matthew Wade was about 4th or 5th. He was up there. And I think all those things he can say about Harris, I think he can say doubly for Wade. Now, another one that we could possibly consider is George Bailey. Now, George Bailey, 4 or 5 years ago, he was dumped from the ODI and T20 team. I think he was still playing for Australia when he decided he wanted to be a good first-class batsman. He wanted to break into the Test team genuinely, and he's really worked at it, and he's been really good. And I know we say, oh, it's too old. Well, how old was Vogers when we put him in? How old was Chris Rogers? They were 35, 38, and 30 got. I don't. Look, if you put Bailey in there, he's only going to be good for a year or two, and then he's going to age will catch up with him, you'd think. But I think right now, when we've got 2 people banned for another couple of months, it's a situation where it's good, it's fine to put somebody in that's a little bit older, that's got that experience. And I think Bailey would be a fairly safe person to put in. So, again, I'm saying no to Marcus Harris, no to Marsh, no to Marsh. Now, it's not that they've got no chance of doing well. There is some small chance. Again, I don't think that's our best team. So that's it. So my team, personally, and this is assuming the bans, would be Finch and Renshaw. It'd be Usman Khawaja at number 3, Peter Hanscom at number 4, I'd probably have Jake Lehman at number 5, Glenn Maxwell at number 6. Um, probably have, I've said, I'd probably have Alex Carey as the wicketkeeper, but I don't mind Tim Payne. And then the 4 bowlers that we're not really in dispute of, which is Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, and Nathan Lyon. I'd have Jackson Bird as the 12th man, and I'd put him in there if any of the bowlers are injured or fall out of form. I think right now Mitchell Starc is the worst of the bowlers that we've got, which is still, I mean, he's still good, but I think he's the worst of those 4 bowlers. I think we've got to be realistic there. And I'd like to see James Pattinson put into the Test team if as soon as he's fit, ready to go. I mean, if his form is anything like what it was like before, he's phenomenal. He's up there with the best in the world, and I think that we need to push him in. And as long as he's not going to get injured the next day. But yeah, they're the bowlers, and that's my team. And I'd be having the vice captaincy going to Aaron Finch, with a view to by the end of the season against India. As long as I think if he can aim for an average of 40 across those 4 tests, Aaron Finch, I think if he can get that, then give him the Test captaincy. I think that's your test. Because India's bowling is worse than most bowlers that we face around the world, particularly in Australian conditions. If we're playing in India, suddenly their bowlers go from pussycats to tigers, but they're here, they're pussycats, they're nothing. And I think he should be able to average 40. I think he should be able to average 50, even 60. And I think if he fails in this series, then we keep Tim Payne as captain for a bit longer. And I don't think we should dump Aaron Finch. Unless it's a really bad failure, I think we should persist with him a little bit because it's shown enough. So that's it there. That's what Travis said, and I think we tried it before. Look, he's not too far off it. There's an argument for putting Travis Head instead of Glenn Maxwell as the number 6. Perhaps you should. Yeah, look, I would put Travis Head ahead of Glenn Maxwell, really, because Maxwell hasn't played for a while. It's not his fault, but and you want to give Head a bit more of a show. So look, yeah, put Head in as number 6. But I wouldn't put either of the Marsh brothers or certainly not Harris. I think those 3 are bad for us. So, yeah. I mean, the Marsh brothers are the kind of players that they just do barely enough to not get dumped. Then they should be getting dumped. They should be getting dumped. Should be getting dumped. Should be getting dumped. Should be getting dumped. Dump. It just gets stupid. We've got a player batting in the top 6 that doesn't even average 25. And it's a long career too. And he's one of our bowlers, and he doesn't take any wickets. He used to be. Marnus Labur Chardonnay. He took more wickets than Mitchell Marsh did. And he's a better choice than Mitchell Marsh. He's not a good choice, but he's a better choice. So, it's pretty appalling. Of course, if I did have Smith and Warner there, I think that it's a lot easier to fill your team. And you don't have to put up with your Marshes, and you certainly wouldn't have to consider Harris people. You wouldn't just buy them, and that's it. So that's my team. Look, I was making excuses before the match has started, but look, I suppose we're not that far off what we should have, but unfortunately, we've got 3 players that shouldn't be there. Possibly 4. Head's still a bit of a hunch. As if it's on the border, but unfortunately, we've got 3 people that they're not even hunches. They shouldn't be there. So, Finch should be there. Khawaja should be there. Full stop. Even with 2 players being out for the band, we've still got 4 that shouldn't be there. or 3 at least. I mean, Head, maybe. Marsh, Harris, no. Bye, bye, bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. But if that review had focused anything even remotely on selection, they'd be saying, don't put Marsh in the team again, no matter whether they're Sean or West Mitchell. But, what can you say? Just put people in because of their last names. We should be doing that. We should be picking people that are good players. Not good players. Well, they're not. I mean, Sean Marsh had his day. He was good as an ODI player. He's never really been good at tests. Anyway, he's there. You're just going to have to hope that I'm wrong and miracles happen. There you go. It's hard to support your own team when you don't support the players, but that's what it is. All right. So that's it for my being a selector. If I was a selector, I would be saying, get stuff, Marsh. No Marsh. Bye, Marsh. Goodbye, Marsh. And what the hell are you talking about with this Harris fella? All right, so that's it. There's clear alternatives there. And what are these selector guys doing? That they play politics? I have to think about. It's not based on numbers, on reality, on what's they're actually like. It's not. You certainly can't say hunches for Mitchell or Shaw Marsh. You can say they're consistently failing. Well, they're consistent. Yeah. Okay, bye.